Good morning, all of you. We will continue with the civics chapter, constitutional design. Okay, so yesterday we have seen about what happened in Africa, South Africa. So we studied about the blacks and the whites there and how they finally got their independence. First, how they were discriminated by the whites living there, and finally how through their protests and strikes and eventually they got freedom, and then they made a new constitution for themselves. So we also had a look at why we need a constitution, and finally we got to the four functions which a constitution does. Obviously it does so many things, but four main things we got at the end of the discussion. Then we also had a look that in which difficult circumstances the Indian constitution was framed. So we had a look at so many problems which the constitution makers, framers faced while they were making this constitution for our country. And then we started with the topic, the path to the constitution. So we had a look that though we had so many difficulties, the odds were against us when the constitution framers, they were making this constitution for us, but still we did not face the same kind of problem that South Africa formed, because already the Indians, the leaders here, they had a consensus, they had an agreement as to what would be the basic ideals on which the whole constitution would be formed. So they basically had that idea, and we also studied that as far back as in 1928, Motilal Nehru and 8 other Congress leaders, they had drafted a constitution, and then in 1931 at the Karachi session, they had made this resolution. And so already the people, while they were fighting for independence, at the same time they also were thinking as to what they would like the independent India to be. And so we had a look that there were few points, there were some things on which all the leaders, all the people agreed, and that was the inclusion of universal adult franchise, that is the voting rights for all adult population. Then equality rights, and that all people should be treated equally, and there should be certain freedoms granted to the people, and also that the rights of the minorities would be protected and safeguarded. So so what we can say is that there were certain basic values which were accepted by all the leaders much before the Constituent Assembly they met to finally discuss on the new constitution. Now one more positive thing with the Indians was that they had the familiarity, they already were familiar with the institutions of colonial rule. So under the Britishers, they already got a training, you could say, and so this helped them to have an agreement as to what would be the institutional design. Now institutional design means how the representatives will be elected, then how many organs in the government we will have, and what would be the relationship between the various organs, and what would be the past. So like basic few things they were there which they were already familiar with while working under the British legislatures. Now but what happened, the Britishers, they did not give voting rights to all people. Only few people in India at that time had voting rights. So on the basis of that, because only few people had voting rights, so obviously the legislatures were not so strong, they were weak legislatures. And though elections were held in 1937 to provincial, means state legislatures and ministries all over the British India at that time, but these governments which were formed, they were not fully democratic. Why fully democratic? Because obviously all the people, they did not have the voting rights. But though they were not fully democratic legislatures, but still the experience that was gained by the Indians, by Indians in the working of that, how these legislations they worked. Now this proved to be very helpful for Indians when they set up their own institutions. And so basically they knew that how these institutions work. And so this really helped them, and that is why also the Indian constitution, they have adopted many institutional details and procedures from the colonial laws also, like the Government of India Act of 1935 means they have incorporated many things from the Government of India Act of 1935, because they were already familiar with that, they knew how these institutions work, so they have taken it, they have adopted it from the Government of India Act of 1935 and incorporated in the constitution, the new constitution of a country. Now, then it was not only that after we got independence that they started to discuss and deliberate as to what a constitution would be like. But already while we were fighting for independence, so already they had been thinking and discussing and deliberating. We already studied about Motilal Nehru in 1928 and then Karachi session 1931. So already, and even before, the leaders they were always discussing and deliberating as to what the independent India should look like. And so years of discussion and deliberation, it really helped on the framework of the constitution of a country. Then our leaders, they also studied the different constitutions of the world which were at that time in the world. So they studied that, and then they have incorporated many things from those constitutions. So many of our leaders, they were inspired by the ideals of the French Revolution, then parliamentary form of government in Britain, then the Bill of Rights means this which contains the fundamental rights in USA. So they were impressed by all these things. Then the socialist revolution in Russia, now that has also inspired many Indians to think of shaping our system on social equality and economic equality. So what we mean to say is that because they have started early, so they had a long time to discuss and think and deliberate as to what the constitution should look like. And then they even got enough time to study the constitution of the various countries at that time. And then from those countries, the things that the ideals and the laws which they like, so what they did not simply imitate the things which they like, but first they thought that whether this provision that we like in the US constitution, so will it fit in the Indian scenario or not. And then after questioning at each step that whether these things will suit our country or not, then all these things were incorporated in our constitution. And so all these factors, they contributed to the making of our constitution. Okay, now who were the people who made this constitution? Who were the makers, the framers of the constitution? Now here we will find on this page, and on the next page you will find in the corner, if you see, some of the people, the little sketch about some of the people who played an important role in the framing of the constitution. So you have a brief sketch about those people. Now the drafting means who made this rough draft of the constitution. Now this was done by a body of elected representatives. So body of some people were elected to form the body which was called as the Constituent Assembly. So they were elected representatives to this Constituent Assembly, and the elections to this Constituent Assembly, they were held in July 1946, and the first meeting, it was held in December 1946. But right after this Constituent Assembly was framed, India was divided into India and Pakistan, and so the Constituent Assembly, it was also divided into the Constituent Assembly of India and the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. Now the Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution, it had 299 members, and so these people, they discussed and deliberated, and then on what ideals they want, and then the drafting committee under the leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, they made the draft of the constitution, and then on 26 November 1949, the Constituent Assembly, they adopted the constitution, but it came into force on 26 January 1950. So though it was adopted, it was signed on 26 November 1949, but it came into force on 26 January 1950. And to mark this day, we celebrate the which day? Yes, 26 January we celebrate
Ma'am,
what?
Republic Day.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
Republic Day.
Republic
Right,
Day.
the Republic Day. Okay. Now, we talk about, people so many years back, they made this constitution and they have already discussed as what the constitution should look like and what things they have taken from the other constitutions and who are the people who made this constitution. But one more question is that why we should accept this constitution which was made by a certain assembly more than 50 years ago. So why we should accept a constitution which was made so long ago? And so they are saying that one point we have already noted above, that the constituent, it does not reflect the views of its members alone. So one of the reason is that the constitution, it does not contain only the views of the people of the constituent assembly. Means it does not only have their views, but it expresses a broad consensus. Means it expresses a broad agreement of its time, because not only the people that were there at that time, they discussed as to what should be there in the constitution, but many years before also, many years earlier to that, there were people who were discussing and deliberating according to the condition of India as to what should be there in the constitution of India. So it was not only the members who decided, these 299 people who decided everything, but it was a broad agreement as to what should be there in the constitution, because many more people were involved in this decision making. And many countries of the world, they had to rewrite their constitution again. Why? Because some of the basic rules, they were not accepted by the people or by the major social groups or the political parties there. And so many countries, they have to rewrite the constitution. Then in some countries, the constitution is there, but it simply exists as a piece of paper. Alright, and no one actually follows it. But the experience of our constitution is entirely different, and over the last more than half a century, there had been several groups, sometimes they have questioned some of the provisions of the constitution. So there had been certain disagreements over some parts of the constitution, but at large we can say no social group or political party has ever questioned the legitimacy or the validity of the constitution. So over some provisions there might be differences, but otherwise no social group or no political party has ever questioned the legitimacy and the validity of our constitution, and this in itself is an unusual achievement for any constitution. So first reason why we should follow our constitution, though why should accept and follow the constitution, though it was made so many years ago. Then
Ma'am,
yes beta,
ma'am, what does legitimacy mean?
what beta?
Ma'am, what does legitimacy mean?
Means the legitimacy, the validity, whether it is valid or not, whether it is according to the laws or not. Alright, there are some things which might be good in a particular time, but over the time those laws, they may get obsolete, means now they do not apply. So but our constitution, there has no such problem has been there with our constitution as to whether it is now not valid and it has become obsolete. No, nothing has been done like that. No problem we have faced with our constitution like that. So no one has questioned the validity, that whether it is really valid, whether it is really according to the laws and according to the times for our country. So no one has questioned that. So it is like valid, like like a watch. You can cannot question the validity of the time it tells, because we know that yes, if it is working properly, then it will tell the valid time only. Okay, so that way. Then the second reason for accepting the constitution is that the Constituent Assembly, though only 299 people were there, but the Constituent Assembly, it represented the people of India. All right, and now you can say that, but at that time there was no universal adult franchise. Only a few people had the right to vote. Okay, now that is there, but the Constituent Assembly, because of not having the universal adult franchise, now though it was not directly elected by the people of India, but it was mainly elected by the members of the existing provincial legislature. So at that time we had some provincial states here, means we had provinces here, now we call them as states. So, and in these provinces we had the legislatures. Just like now we have the state legislative assemblies. So at that time also they had these provincial legislative assemblies, and so the members to these constituent assemblies, they were elected by these different provincial legislative assemblies. And now what this made sure that there were people from all the geographical areas of a country, from all the regions of the country, because obviously the country itself, the whole country was divided into different provinces, and from each provincial legislature you will have members which were represented in the Constituent Assembly. So what we can say that we had people from all the regions represented here. Then second, though the assembly, it was dominated by the Indian National Congress, you will know that this party led a freedom struggle, but the Congress in itself, they included people of so many different political views and opinions. So though this Constituent Assembly, it was dominated by this Constituent Assembly, though it was dominated by the members of the Indian National Congress, but within the Congress itself we had so many different views and so many different voices and so many different opinions. And then the assembly also did have many members who did not agree with the views of the Congress. And so what we can say is that even if we take in social terms, geographical terms you've already seen, now even if we take in social terms, so the assembly, they represented people from different language groups and castes, classes, religion, occupation, people having different views and different opinions. And so what we can conclude is that even if the Constituent Assembly would have been elected by universal adult franchise, but the composition would not have been much different, because already here we had people from different regions, from different religions, different languages, different opinions, all coming together and framing the constitution for a country. And finally, why the constitution is so important and why we should still accept is that this constitution is that because the manner in which the Constituent Assembly worked. So the manner in which the Constituent Assembly, it worked to form this whole constitution, now it gives a sanctity, a purity, a holiness, alright, to this constitution, that yes, it is a sacred document for our country. Now the Constituent Assembly, it was not like that behind doors they prepared everything and they discussed, and no, it was, and only few people discussed about it and not all the members were involved. No, it was not like that. The Constituent Assembly, it worked in a proper systematic manner, open manner, means all the provisions, they were discussed and deliberated, and then also a consensual manner, means agreeable manner. It was not that okay, only few top leaders agreed to something, so they took that as a provision in the constitution. No. So it was based on consensus, it was based on approval and agreement by the people who were present there. So they worked in an open manner, in an agreeable manner, in a systematic manner. So how they made, first some basic principles were decided, that okay, what basic principles we want, on which we will rest our constitution, or on which ideals we want our constitution to be framed. And then a drafting committee was made, which was chaired by, means the chairman of the drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Then they prepared a draft constitution for the discussion. What is a draft constitution? What is a draft?
Ma'am, a rough constitution.
Yes?
Ma'am, a rough constitution.
Yes, a rough copy, or you can say a first copy of something. Like, when we sometimes have to write an important document, so first, we make a rough copy of it, and then we read it again, and we make changes, we make corrections, and then the final copy is made. So the draft, this drafting committee, they prepared a draft for a draft constitution, so that on that they can discuss, and on that they can take the views of the people. And so several rounds of thorough discussion took place on the draft constitution, and this was done clause by clause. It was not like that in general, they basically had a discussion, okay, no, this constitution is not good, no, there are certain, no, it was not like that. Means clause by clause, on every specific section of the document, on every specific section of the constitution. So means a clause. What is a clause? A specific section of a document, or a distinct section of a document. So on every specific thing which is there in the constitution, they discussed over it clause by clause, means small portion by portion, they discussed everything that is written there. And so more than 2,000 amendments were considered, and the members, they deliberated for 114 days, which was spread over a time of approximately 3 years. And so they took so much time, they were not in a hurry, and so they discussed everything, they took in consideration everything, every view, and they discussed so much, and finally they came to the discussion, to this conclusion. And so every document which was presented in this assembly, and every word spoken in the Constituent Assembly, they have all been recorded, and they have been preserved, and these are called as the Constituent Assembly debates. So Constituent Assembly debates, sometimes you are asked this for a 1-mark question, what are Constituent Assembly debates? So you should know that every document which is presented and every word spoken in the Constituent Assembly, that has been recorded and preserved, and these are called as the Constituent Assembly debates. Now if you print these debates, then when printed, these debates are 12 bulky volumes, 12 huge volumes of books you will get if you print all these Constituent Assembly debates. And so these debates, the papers presented, and all the discussions, everything is preserved, and they basically provide us the rationale or the reason behind every provision of the Constitution. So if anyone wants to know that why a certain clause has been incorporated in the Constitution, and so if you read this Constituent Assembly debates, then you will get to know the reason behind each and every clause, each and every provision that is there in the Constitution. And now these are used to interpret the meaning of the Constitution. So these are the reasons that why the Constitution is such a sacred document for us, and why even after so many years we need to accept, respect, and follow it. Now in this book we shall study about the exact provisions of the Constitution on different subjects. But at this stage, means in this chapter, we will begin by understanding the philosophy, the overall philosophy as to what our Constitution is all about. Means on what thinking, thoughts this whole thing is based. So now we can do this in two ways. Now first, we can understand as to what is the reason, the rationale behind the constitution. Now we can understand it by reading the views of some of our major leaders on our constitution. But at the same time, it is also equally important to read what the constitution says about itself. Alright, so it is not only that we only read the inputs of the some of the major leaders on constitution, but at the same time we also need to read and study what the constitution says about itself. So how we get to know what the constitution says about itself? Now this is what the preamble of the constitution does. And so if you study the preamble of the constitution, so you will get to know what to find in the constitution. And so we will study that in detail now. Now if you see the sketches here, like Rajendra Prasad is mentioned here, Jayapal Singh, H.C. Mukherjee, then Deshmukh, Baldev Singh, and quite so many names are mentioned even on the next page. But you will find that some of the important names are missing here, and we don't find the name of Mahatma Gandhi there. Now why? Because he was not a member of the Constituent Assembly. But still, though he was not a member of the Constituent Assembly, but there were many people in the assembly who followed Gandhiji's vision. So though he was not present there in person, but there were people present in the Constituent Assembly who had the same vision as Gandhiji. And years ago, Gandhiji, while he was writing in his magazine Young India in 1931, he had spelled out, means he had written that what he wanted the constitution to do. So he has written that what he wanted the constitution to do. So let's see what he has written here. I shall strive for a constitution which will release India from all thraldom and patronage. So what he wanted the constitution to be like? Which will release India, make India free from all the thraldom, means bondage and slavery. So he wanted a constitution that will free India from all bondage, all slavery and patronage, means from all assistance and backing. So you patronize someone, you back someone, you assist someone. So he wanted the constitution that will release India, make India free from all bondage, all slavery, all backing and assistance. And I shall work for an India in which the poorest shall feel that it is their country and on whose making they have an effective voice. So he wanted to have or to make India a country in which even the poorest person in the country would feel that this country is theirs and they also have a voice in the making of this country. An India in which there shall be no high class and no low class of people. He wanted a country where there will no be class distinction as to rich and poor, high class and low class. And he wanted an India in which all communities shall live in perfect harmony. He wanted that all the communities, now those communities can be based on region, religion, language, culture, any division that we have had, that all the communities, they will live together in perfect harmony, brotherhood, love, unity. There can be no room in such an India for the curse of untouchability or the curse of intoxicating drinks and drugs. And he wanted India to be a country where there is no room, where untouchability is not practiced, where people, they are not into intoxicating drinks, into drugs and into alcohol and all that. So he wanted India to be free of these social evils. Women will enjoy the same rights as men. I shall be satisfied with nothing else. And he said that he wanted a country where women also had equal rights as men. Now here we don't only mean political rights but also social rights as well. And he said that I will be satisfied with this only and nothing else. Means I want all of this to be there in the free, independent India. Alright. Okay, so we will stop here for today. Have you understood what we have done today? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
All right.